Today's case is one that shook a small community on the Missouri-Kansas border. It's a case that sat cold for nearly 10 years, where it took another murder happening in the town to actually end up solving this case. It's a complicated case that has a lot of people and involves a lot of different dates spanning over 10 years. It's also a case that has a lot of twists and turns along the way that nobody saw coming. So pay close attention, because this one is going to be a very wild one, to say the least. Hey guys, I'm Elise. This is 10 to Life. Let's dive right in. Alright guys, if you have been a 10 to Lifer for a while now, you probably already know this, because most of my loyal viewers already know why I love Magellan TV. I talk about them all of the time. I am absolutely obsessed with them. Magellan TV adds 15 to 20 hours of new content every single week, so true crime fans, any documentary watching fans will never run out of something to watch. This week, I watched Sex, Drugs, and Murder, which is a documentary about the increasing use of GHB, also known as the date rape drug, and how many times it results in murder. It's a new release on their platform, and new docuseries like this one are added weekly. And let me just tell you, Magellan TV is the best value of any premium documentary streaming service. Trust me, I've got them all. They are the best in both price and quality, because 4K is always included in your subscription, and get this, there are no ads ever. Which, if you're watching on YouTube, I know you hate the ads, and there are no ads on Magellan. Magellan is also so amazing and such a fantastic partner of the 10 to Life channel that they are giving you a free month trial. And all you have to do to get it is go to my link in the description, and then bam, you are hooked up. So go watch, thank me later, tell me what you're watching, and you are going to be just absolutely obsessed with it, just like I am. Because I've watched everything everywhere else, and they always have something new for me. So click that link and check it out. It's May 4th, 2007, and our story unfolds in the tranquil town of Belton, Missouri. Nestled in northwest Cass County, Belton is situated a mere 4 miles away from the Missouri-Kansas border. At that time, Belton was a small and peaceful community, boasting a population of approximately 23,000 residents according to the 2010 census. In the town of Belton, the Beckford family resided. They were a blended family, composed of 2 children, Kara Kopetsky and her younger half-brother Thomas. Along them were Kara's stepfather, Jim Beckford, and her mother, Rhonda Beckford. Like many teenagers, conflicts between Kara and her parents had become more frequent as of late, though it hasn't always been that way. In her childhood, Kara was an outgoing, lively, and vibrant individual. She possessed remarkable loyalty, a strong will, and a tendency to speak her mind openly. Even as she matured, her sense of loyalty grew stronger, and she consistently expressed herself, even when aware that others might disagree with her. Kara always prioritized remaining true to herself. Kara was in the final days of her junior year at Belton High School. She was skipping school more often and had made friends with kids who her parents thought were bad influences. Kara began smoking cigarettes, and at first, this was a pretty prevalent battle between her and her mother. However, Rhonda realized that it didn't matter what she said or how many times she threw away her packs of cigarettes. Kara was going to keep getting them. It wasn't a battle that Rhonda felt like fighting anymore. She was more concerned with keeping her in school and making sure that she was safe. Her husband, Jim, reassured Rhonda that this was just typical teenager behavior and that everything was going to be okay. I mean, Kara had dreams and goals for herself and her future that she would often talk about. She knew what that was going to look like. She was even set on going to a local college in town to continue her education. This gave the couple hope that this was just a phase for Kara and that she would come out above it. May 4th, 2007 was a very nice day. It was warm out and the sun was shining. Rhonda had offered Kara a ride to school that morning, but because it was such a nice day, Kara declined the ride, stating that she was just going to walk. However, Rhonda knew that it was because Kara was wanting to sneak a cigarette before school. Later that day, about an hour after walking to school, Kara called her mom and told her that she had forgotten to grab one of her school books that she needed for class back at home. She asked her mom if she could please bring it to her. Rhonda agrees to help, and then Kara also confesses that she forgot to wash her work uniform last night and asked Rhonda would she also wash it for her so that she could have it for her shift at the local Popeyes that evening. Rhonda agreed, and before leaving for her own job, she washed Kara's uniform and took the textbook to the school. Rhonda just dropped the book off at the front office, so she didn't actually see Kara at school that day. As Kara's school day progressed, Jim, her stepfather, returned home from completing his work shift at his job. It was expected that Jim would arrive home around the same time Kara would return from school, where she would then get ready for her 4 o'clock shift at Popeyes. However, by 3 p.m., Kara had not yet arrived home, which was highly unusual, particularly on a workday. Growing concerned, Jim decided to call Kara to see where she was and why she hadn't made it home yet. However, despite his attempts, Kara did not answer the phone. After some time had passed, Rhonda arrived home from work as well. She was equally puzzled and concerned to learn that Kara had not returned home and had not been answering Jim's phone calls. Both Rhonda and Jim knew that even if plans had changed or something had happened, Kara would have at least sent them a text message to inform them. The lack of communication from Kara was extremely unlike her. Jim began to wonder if perhaps Kara got into trouble at school for using her cell phone and maybe had it confiscated, which could explain her lack of response. So he decided to head to the high school campus, as he thought that Kara might still be there. However, as he arrived at the school on that Friday afternoon, he found the campus empty of students. As the clock approached 4 p.m., the worry within Jim and Rhonda intensified. Kara should have already been on her way to work, having picked up her clean uniform that she had requested for earlier from her mom. Jim made the decision to drive to the Popeyes location where Kara was employed, hoping that she might have just found an alternate solution for her uniform and maybe received a ride there from someone else. However, upon arriving at the restaurant, Jim was met by Kara's manager, who inquired about Kara's whereabouts. Jim explained his purpose for being there, which was hoping to find Kara at work. However, unfortunately, the manager revealed that Kara had not shown up for her shift. Filled with increasing concern, Jim decided to wait at the restaurant, hoping that Kara would eventually arrive. However, as the minutes ticked by, it became evident that by 4:20 p.m., Kara still hadn't appeared for her scheduled 4 p.m. shift. Filled with even more confusion and growing concern, Jim returned home to discuss the situation with Rhonda. They both found it incredibly perplexing since Kara had never missed a shift at work before, and she genuinely enjoyed her job, appreciating the independence and the financial freedom that it provided. I mean, Kara had initially taken the job to have her own money for shopping and socializing with her friends. Not to mention, she was an incredibly loyal person. If she said she was going to be somewhere, she was going to be there. After realizing that they needed additional assistance, Jim and Rhonda decided to reach out to local family members for help. Kara's family embarked on a collective effort, driving around town to retrace the route between home and school, as well as checking the local skate park where she often spent time. They engaged in conversations with other kids, with the hope of gathering any information that could shed light on Kara's whereabouts. Simultaneously, Rhonda took the initiative to review the cell phone bill, identifying the numbers that Kara frequently contacted. She started making calls to those phone numbers in a desperate attempt to gather any clues about Kara's location. However, even after dialing nearly every number on the list, Rhonda still had no idea where she was at. At around 5 p.m. that day, after doing everything they could think to do, Kara's parents made the decision to contact the Belton Police Department and report her as missing. An officer promptly responded to the call and arrived at their residence to gather the necessary information. However, as Rhonda and Jim disclosed some details about Kara's teenage rebellion and past conflicts, they couldn't help but sense that the police may not have been taking their concerns as seriously as they had hoped. With the awareness that sharing the information about Kara's rebellious behavior might affect the police's perception of the situation, Rhonda and Jim had still chosen to be open and honest. They recounted an incident that occurred on Kara's 16th birthday, when she had been grounded for skipping school. Kara's response at that time had been confrontational, claiming that they were treating her unfairly on her special day. Amidst a heated argument, Kara stormed out of the house to spend time with her friends, and she didn't return until the following morning at 7 a.m. Distressed by her absence that night, Jim and Rhonda had previously contacted the police to report her missing. So their current report wasn't the first time they dealt with a similar situation. which unfortunately just didn't help them at all. Feeling increasingly helpless and frustrated, Jim and Rhonda found themselves met with minimal support from the police. The authorities dismissively suggested that Kara was likely just another teenage runaway, which was apparently a common occurrence in their experience. They assured Jim and Rhonda that they would follow up again the following day. The couple, however, was adamant that Kara's disappearance was not a result of her running away this time, firmly asserting that something was genuinely wrong. They disclosed to the police that during the last incident, Kara had been involved in an abusive relationship and had also been making poor decisions. However, she had taken steps to break free from that toxic relationship and had recently filed a restraining order against her ex-partner just 2 days prior to her going missing. Jim and Rhonda passionately believed that Kara was in the process of moving beyond her rebellious phase and was making positive changes in her life. They pled with the police to listen to their concerns and take the situation seriously. As night fell, Kara remained missing, and the anxiety that Rhonda and Jim had just continued to mount. They stayed awake in the living room, eagerly awaiting her return. However, as morning arrived on May 5th, Kara still had not come home. Determined to find their daughter, Rhonda and Jim persisted in their search. Around 3 p.m., precisely 24 hours since they had initially reported Kara as missing, Rhonda reached out to the police once again, with the demand this time of immediate action. To their surprise, during this follow-up conversation, Rhonda and Jim were informed that there had been some developments in Kara's case since their previous communication. The police revealed that another one of Kara's friends had visited the police station on the same day that the officer was at their house, and that they had also reported Kara missing. However, the reason that the police had been uncertain about how to proceed was because this friend claimed that they had last seen Kara on May 2nd, 2007, which was 2 days prior to when Rhonda and Jim last saw her. So as you can imagine, the conflicting timeline added another layer of confusion and concern to the situation. The information provided by Kara's friend raised a troubling question for the police. Could either the friend or Kara's parents be lying about the situation? The friend informed the police that Kara had been absent from school for the past 2 days, which made them and everyone question, why would Kara have her mom bring that textbook to school if she wasn't even there? Additionally, the police asked the friend why they wouldn't contact Kara's parents first when they hadn't seen her for 2 days. The friend responded that they were uncomfortable reaching out to her parents and suspected that they may have been involved in her disappearance. Consequently, the police had refrained from contacting Rhonda and Jim, as they were considered potential suspects now. Rhonda and Jim, having just realized that, started to comprehend why the police had not provided them with the updates. They had become the prime suspects in their own daughter's case. Jim, despite his growing frustration and feeling unfairly targeted due to his stepfather role, cooperated with the police investigation and willingly underwent questioning, and even submitted to a polygraph examination. He could not shake off the unsettling thought that he was being scrutinized due to not sharing a biological connection with Kara, despite having raised and loved her as his own daughter. Jim passionately asserted his love for Kara, emphasizing how he had tirelessly searched for her throughout the night and promptly reported her missing merely an hour after she failed to return home from school. How could he possibly be involved in this? After an extensive and exhaustive interrogation, Jim was eventually released from custody, and he was informed that he had been cleared of any suspicion. While that brought a sense of relief, Kara was still missing, and it became apparent that precious time had been lost, with the police having invested considerable resources and efforts in the interrogation of an innocent individual. The crucial first 48 hours in a missing persons case had slipped away, which caused concern regarding the impact on the investigation's process and the chances of finding Kara. Jim and Rhonda were very understandably frustrated at this point. As the police intensified their efforts to locate Kara by canvassing the neighborhood and engaging with individuals connected to her life, they also turned to the media for assistance in publicizing her disappearance, with the hope that it would generate leads that could aid in the search. However, their attempts to bring attention to Kara's case were swiftly overshadowed by a devastating event. During the same weekend that Kara went missing, the Greensburg, Kansas tornado strikes the area, leaving a path of destruction in its wake. The catastrophic impact of the tornadoes diverted the media's attention and resources toward covering the aftermath of the natural disaster. The widespread devastation and urgent need for rescue and recovery efforts captured the headlines, which pushed Kara's disappearance into the background. With approximately 95% of the town leveled, 11 lives lost, and 63 people injured, the tornado left behind a trail of destruction and despair. The financial toll of the disaster amounted to around $250 million in damages.
May 5th, 2007. Greensburg, Kansas is reeling from an EF5 tornado. The storm has demolished 95% of the town's buildings and taken 10 lives. Crumbled homes, crushed vehicles. The pattern of destruction seems bewildering.
Furthermore, the tornado's magnitude and the urgency of the recovery efforts continued to capture the attention of the media and overshadowed any coverage or effort that Kara's disappearance may have received. Unfortunately, this meant that the visibility and attention that Kara's case desperately needed were significantly diminished, which only further complicated the search for answers about her whereabouts. Amidst the aftermath of the devastating tornado, there was one investigative journalist named Russ who recognized the ongoing need to shed light on her case. Russ made the decision to travel to Belton to speak with Kara's family and help bring attention to her story. He held the belief that Kara was not simply a runaway and that her disappearance warranted further investigation. Upon his arrival, Jim, Kara's stepfather, initially hesitated to engage with Russ, uncertain of how his involvement would impact the case. However, Russ persisted, assuring Jim that his intention was not to exploit the situation, but rather to raise awareness, share Kara's story, and aid in locating her. With Jim and Rhonda's agreement, Russ drove deeper into the investigation and examined various aspects of Kara's case. As he explored the possibility of Kara running away, he discovered that she had left behind numerous belongings that a typical teenager would typically take along, such as her iPod, her phone charger, and all of her clothing. That detail added to the growing suspicion that Kara's disappearance was not a voluntary act. Meanwhile, the police were taking their own steps to unravel the events of May 4th. They visited Belton High School, seeking information from students and staff regarding any unusual occurrences on that day. Their focus was on determining whether Kara attended school, and if she did not, they wanted to understand the reasons behind her request for the textbook being brought to the school that day. Utilizing the school's CCTV footage, the police swiftly identify Kara in the hallway, confirming that she was indeed present at school on May 4th. The police, who were now armed with crucial information from the school's CCTV footage, focused their attention on identifying and locating the individuals that Kara interacted with before leaving the school that day. At around 9:30 a.m., just shortly after she asked her mom to bring the textbook, Kara was seen walking into the bathroom and exiting shortly after. She briefly spoke with another female student in the hallways before exiting an outside door. She never returned inside after that. Detectives began their investigation by interviewing students who were present at Belton High School on May 4th, hoping to gather any relevant details about Kara's interactions that morning. They also requested assistance from the school administration to help identify the girl in question in the hallway. According to those interviewed, Kara had told multiple people that she was ditching school and asked if they wanted to come with her. No one agreed, and no one was able to tell the police where she was headed when she left. When the police asked her parents if they knew where she would go, they were unsure. But by that point, they were beginning to wonder if it may have had something to do with that dangerous ex-boyfriend that they had previously told the police about. Kara's ex-boyfriend, Kylr Yust, embodied the rebellious high school dropout stereotype, which caused strife within her family. Although her parents believed the relationship had ended, they harbored deep resentment toward him. However, Rhonda, Kara's mother, reminded the police of a crucial detail. Just days prior to Kara's disappearance, they had assisted her in filing an order of protection against Kylr. The court documents revealed a distressing account. Kara alleged that on April 28, 2007, Kylr had appeared at her workplace, abducted and restrained her, choked her, as well as threatened her with a knife, prompting her to seek protection. The application for protection read, I'm unsure what he will do next because the abuse has gotten worse over time. Tragically, due to Kara's sudden vanishing, the order was never served, leaving her impending court hearing unresolved. So I know what you're thinking. How is this asshat not the #1 suspect at this point? Why didn't Kara's parents immediately think of him when she went missing, especially with a claim of abduction? And I honestly can't tell you why. And upon researching, I couldn't find anything to explain this. It truly makes no sense to me. But after bringing Kylr in for questioning and administering a polygraph test, he passed, and he also provided an alibi. According to Kylr, the last time he had any contact with Kara was on May 3rd, the day before she went missing. He claimed that on the day of her disappearance, he was at his aunt's nursing home and remained there for the entire day. However, Kylr noticed that he had a missed call from Kara on May 4th around 11 a.m., which was about an hour and a half after the police saw her leaving on the cameras. But she did not answer his call when he called her back. So the police decided to pull Kara's phone records, and they discovered that Kylr was lying. According to Kara's phone records, she called Kylr at 9:13 a.m., 2 hours earlier than he had initially said. He called her back at 9:20 a.m., 1 minute after Kara was seen walking out of Belton High School. And when the police confronted him about his lies, Kylr still stuck to his story. With insufficient evidence to detain him and the possibility of an alibi, the police were forced to release Kylr. As the days passed and the investigation continued, frustration mounted as there were no significant breakthroughs or leads in Kara's case. The police had exhaustively interviewed Kara's family, friends, ex-boyfriend, and schoolmates, leaving no stone unturned in their search for answers. The community, still grappling with the aftermath of the devastating tornado, remained committed to supporting the investigation and spreading awareness about Kara's disappearance. Despite the widespread efforts and the posting of missing person signs throughout the area, each lead seemed to fizzle out, leaving the investigation at a complete standstill. It felt as though for every promising lead, they were ultimately brought back to square one, with no tangible progress being made. On July 23, 2007, the police brought Kylr in for questioning once again, driven by their persistent suspicion that he may have been involved in Kara's disappearance. This time, Kylr confessed to having an argument with Kara on May 3rd, the night before she went missing. According to him, Kara had plans to spend time with another boy over the weekend, which angered him, ensuing an argument. However, he still maintained his innocence and insisted that he did not see Kara on May 4th. 2 years went by, and nothing ever surfaced. The absence of any leads, evidence, or clues left the investigation at a standstill. During the investigation, the police had continued to maintain a focus on Kylr as a person of interest. However, there was a glaring oversight that during the initial days of Kara's disappearance 3 years prior, no one had verified Kylr's alibi at the nursing home. No inquiries were made to confirm whether he was truly present there. There were no checks on surveillance footage or sign-in records at the nursing home. It appeared that the police had simply made assumptions without conducting a thorough investigation into Kylr's whereabouts during that crucial time. 3 years had passed, and the new detectives assigned to the case acknowledged the challenge of verifying Kylr's alibi at that point. Given the significant time that has passed, there were no viable leads or witnesses to question. However, the police continued to closely monitor Kylr's activities and investigated his connections by interviewing his friends from past to present. As the years passed, nearly a decade elapsed without any movements in Kara's case. Her family and friends were left grappling with unanswered questions. The lack of closure weighed heavily on their lives while the world around them seemed to have moved on so easily. But then, on September 10, 2016, Jamie Runions reached out to the Belton police. She reported her own daughter, 21-year-old Jessica Runions, as missing nearly a decade after Rhonda Beckford had called to report Kara missing. Jamie informed the police that she had traced her daughter's whereabouts and believed that Jessica was last seen 2 days prior, on September 8th, at a house party in South Kansas City. And guess what? Jessica was last seen with Kylr Yust, of who Jamie had felt uneasy about. She said that he gave off really weird vibes, and this made her worry about her daughter even more. Police listened to Jamie's concerns and her mention of Kylr, the same individual connected to Kara's disappearance years ago. The Familiarity of the name immediately grabbed their attention, and they realized the potential significance of this lead. The police now had a renewed sense of urgency to investigate Kylr and his potential involvement in both cases. Jamie, Jessica's mom, also mentioned that Jessica had missed a very important doctor's appointment that she was supposed to attend with her mother the morning after the party, so that she could be cleared to go back to work after a recent surgery. And here's what really threw Jamie over the edge and caused so much worry. The last time that Jamie had talked to Jessica was when Jessica sent a text message to her saying, "Sweet dreams," and Jamie sent a selfie with her and Jessica's little sister. Jessica responded with a selfie of her with a cat. With the information provided by witnesses from the party, the police now had a timeline and a vehicle description to work with. The fact that Jessica and Kylr were seen leaving the party together in her black 2012 Chevy Equinox became a crucial lead. The Missouri license plates on the vehicle gave the police a tangible piece of evidence to track down and potentially locate them. The investigation intensified as the police diligently followed up on leads and gathered more information to uncover the truth behind Jessica's disappearance and the possible connection to Kylr Yust. Eyewitness accounts from the party painted a disturbing picture of Kylr's behavior toward Jessica that evening. Despite not being romantically involved, Kylr exhibited excessive possessiveness and aggression toward Jessica, causing discomfort among many of the partygoers. This behavior was particularly unsettling considering that Kylr was a friend of Jessica's boyfriend, making his actions even more inappropriate. Witnesses observed arguments between Jessica and Kylr over the way that he was acting, before seeing the two of them leave together in her vehicle. After issuing a bolo, also known as a be on the lookout, for Jessica Runions' car, the police received a significant break in the case. The Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department responded to a report of a vehicle fire near a remote overpass in Jackson County, Missouri, and it turned out to be Jessica's missing car. In a shocking turn of events, Jessup Carter, the stepbrother of Kylr Yust, contacted the police and confessed to a crime. According to Jessup, Kylr had called him the previous night in a desperate state, requesting assistance in destroying a car. Acting on Kylr's request, Jessup and Kylr set the car on fire, which was later identified as Jessica Runions' vehicle. Jessup revealed that Kylr confessed to him that he had killed Jessica. Overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation, Jessup decided to turn himself in, while expressing his desire to disassociate himself from any further involvement. Allegedly, Kylr confided in Jessup, revealing that he had strangled Jessica, dragged her into a wooded area, and then contacted Jessup to seek assistance in disposing of the car. Following the disturbing act, Jessup claimed that he and Kylr drove back to Jessup's residence in Edwards, Missouri. Jessup told police that if they went to get Kylr right then, that he still would likely have burns on his hands and his face from the attempt to light the car on fire. The crazy part of all of this, multiple people had come forward over the span of 2010 to 2016 and told law enforcement that Kylr had admitted to killing someone, specifically Kara, back in 2007. On April 26, 2010, the investigation into Kara's case received renewed momentum when the police interviewed a friend and former roommate of Kylr from 2007. According to the roommate, in 2009, Kylr had confided in him about his relationship troubles. During the conversation, Kylr mentioned Kara and expressed his anger, stating that she didn't love him back. He admitted that his anger had escalated to a point where something terrible happened to her.
The prosecution also called up Nick Yates, who was a friend and bandmate of Yust.
When we had been drinking at a party at his house, we had gone up to Burger King and he'd confessed to me that he'd killed Kara.
Yates claims Yust told him he killed Kopetsky because she didn't love him and didn't want anyone to have her. Yust's defense tried to cast doubt and uncertainty on St. Clair's and Yates' testimony because St. Clair initially didn't tell the police about the attack, and Yates had been drinking the night Yust allegedly confessed, leaving him to wonder if he dreamed it up.
In 2011, the police made another breakthrough when they interviewed one of Kylr's ex-girlfriends. She bravely came forward and revealed that Kylr had confessed to her about choking a previous girlfriend and disposing of her body in the woods. Additionally, she shared her own experiences of Kylr's violent behavior toward her, including threats to her own life. The FBI even wired her up to see if they could get his confession on camera. And get this, they were successful at doing it.
This hidden camera footage was taken a decade ago. Kylr Yust's ex-girlfriend Caitlin Ferris participating in a wiretap for the FBI to see if they could get any information about Kara Kopetsky's whereabouts.
The day that I'm going to visit the death spot of my ex-girlfriend that I killed.
Yust seemingly having no idea his words would be captured on audio as he and Ferris met up to make a Ouija board to attempt to speak with Kopetsky's spirit.
Like, I really regret it. I really didn't want to tell anyone in my entire life.
We also heard testimony from another of Yust's ex-girlfriends, Candace St. Clair, who described their relationship as violent and unhealthy. She talked about an incident where she says Yust attacked her 10 years ago in his apartment because she tried to leave him.
He then proceeded to get on top of me, to put his hands around my neck, hand over hand, to crush my trachea.
She says he threatened to kill her.
I have killed ex-girlfriends before out of sheer jealousy. I will kill you before you can let another scream out of your throat.
On June 5th, 2012, yet another witness came forward with crucial information. This witness informed the police that Kylr had confessed to them about picking up Kara from school on the day that she went missing. According to the witness, Kylr revealed that a physical altercation had ensued between them, resulting in him choking Kara to death. Shockingly, Kylr allegedly described the chilling moment of watching Kara take her last breath before disposing of her body in the woods. 3 years had passed without an arrest in Kara's case. But during this time, Kylr found himself incarcerated on an unrelated charge. It was actually for a string of charges, which included drug trafficking, assault on an ex-girlfriend, as well as killing 3 kittens in front of his ex-girlfriend. And just so you know, if you don't know by now, how really effed up this guy really is, there are police reports from 2013 about how Kylr stated that he had killed multiple ex-girlfriends and got rid of their bodies by feeding them to pigs at a family farm. So yeah, a real winner, if you will. Seizing the opportunity, the police who were working on Kara's case decided to question Kylr once again, now that he was in custody. They confronted him about the inconsistencies in his original statements, particularly regarding the cell phone records and his lies. However, Kylr chose to remain silent and refused to answer any questions posed by authorities. A year later, on March 20th, 2016, a former cellmate of Kylr, who had shared a prison cell with him during his time at the Oklahoma Corrections Facility, reached out to the police. The cellmate disclosed that in 2015, after Kylr had been questioned by the authorities, he returned to their shared cell and made a shocking request. Kylr asked the cellmate to help him create an alibi because he had strangled Kara and felt that the police were closing in on him. And later that year in 2016, after Kylr was released from jail, was when Jessup, his stepbrother, approached the police with devastating news. He revealed that Kylr had recently killed Jessica Runions. Now, all of this is just so incredibly infuriating to me, because if the police would have taken these statements more seriously, Kylr could have been intercepted before the situation with Jessica Runions ever happened. So now let's go back to September 11th, 2016. At 9:36 a.m., a search warrant was executed at Jessup's mobile home, leading to Kylr's arrest for burning Jessica's car. He was subsequently taken into custody and held on a $50,000 bond. The arrest affidavit indicated that Kylr exhibited burns on his face, arms, and hands, which were visible in his mugshot. Additionally, scratches were documented on his face. However, despite these physical indications, the prosecution deemed that they lacked sufficient forensic evidence to arrest him for Jessica's disappearance and potential murder. The only tangible evidence they had at this point was the presence of Jessica's burned car. The state made the decision to further investigate Kylr before moving forward with charges related to Jessica's disappearance. The growing consensus among many was that Kylr was not only involved in Jessica's disappearance, but also in Kara's. Kara's family had endured more than a decade of waiting for justice, and now the primary suspect in their daughter's murder had been apprehended for destroying the vehicle of another missing girl. On April 3rd, 2017, a mushroom hunter made a grim discovery of human remains off the highway in Cass County. The location of the remains was approximately 9 miles away from Belton High School. The following day, another set of much older remains, a skull, was found just a short distance from the first body. On April 5th, 2017, the Kansas City Medical Examiner's Office and the Kansas City Crime Lab confirmed that the first set of remains discovered belonged to Jessica Runions. 11 days later, on August 16th, 2017, they declared that the older remains were those of Kylr Kopetsky. Kylr Yust, who is now 27 years old, was charged on October 5th, 2017 with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of abandoning a corpse, all in the deaths of Kylr and Jessica. He was now being held on a $1 million bond. On June 19th, 2018, Kylr pled not guilty to the charges. Following his plea, the defense caused a series of delays for various reasons, further prolonging the legal proceedings. During the process of building their case, police arrested Jessup Carter, Kylr's stepbrother. They arrested him for arson in July of 2018 with the expectation that he would serve as their key witness. They made a deal with him that could only be promised if he chose to testify against Kylr. The prosecution heavily relied on Jessup's testimony since he was present and involved in the burning of the car, providing solid evidence. However, on September 24th, 2018, Jessup Carter was tragically found dead in his cell after taking his own life. Then, the COVID-19 pandemic struck, causing additional disruptions to the court system and to the trial schedule. Finally, in April of 2021, the trial officially commenced, bringing together the families of Jessica and Kylr in the courtroom, united in their pursuit of justice. Kylr's family was devastated that it took another victim to find their daughter. And if more evidence had been found, or if the prosecution had just decided to charge Kylr before 2016, could Jessica's murder have been avoided? During the trial, Kylr testified that his deceased brother, Jessup Carter, was the actual perpetrator in both cases. And since Jessup was dead and couldn't testify, that was the defense that they ran with. Kinda shoddy, if you ask me. Kinda feels like Alex Cox, Lori Vallow, like throw the blame on the dead guy kind of thing. So Kylr was ultimately found guilty of voluntary manslaughter for Kylr's murder and guilty of second-degree murder for Jessica's murder. Now, I am unable to even wrap my mind around why in the world the jury made the decision to convict Kylr of voluntary manslaughter and second-degree murder instead of first-degree murder. The prosecution pursued first-degree murder charges for both cases, but they did not achieve those verdicts. The factors that influenced the jury's decision and the precise details of their deliberations are not known, of course. However, it is worth noting that Rhonda Beckford, Kylr's mother, does not believe that voluntary manslaughter adequately serves as justice for her daughter. Kylr Yust was sentenced to 15 years for the murder of Kylr and life in prison for the murder of Jessica. However, in the state of Missouri, that second-degree murder is capped at 30 years, so he is looking at a combined 45 years in prison and is eligible for parole when he serves 85% of his sentence. After the sentencing, Kylr became extremely combative and disrespectful toward the judge.
Quite honestly, he started out insolent and then became combative after that sentence was handed down. The judge was asking Kylr Yust if he felt he'd been adequately represented, and he declared he would only speak to his post-trial conviction attorney.
I admire your attempts to foil my appeals, but no thank you, sir. I do not feel like discussing this with you.
So, have you, did they refuse?
Are you my post-conviction counsel?
Have you been able to talk to them about your case over the last, I think, 4 years?
What do you think?
Despite the sentence, the families expressed that the specific length of the sentence was not their primary concern. Their ultimate goal was always to find and bring their loved ones home, which they were able to achieve. The families of Kylr and Jessica made a statement immediately following the sentencing.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Been a long time, emotional time. I want to thank you all for your support, for Kylr and Jessica and our families, You were their voices. You got their stories out there, and you still have their stories, and not just for them, but there's a lot of missing people out there that need attention, and you know, we're just so very thankful for each one of you men and women standing there, being with them, being with us.
Telling their stories.
They told me they didn't know what to say, they put it on me. You know, but one thing that comes to mind is just, you know, the love everyone has shown. And, you know, we're very thankful. Thankful for justice to come, you know. We thought about justice, and, you know, it was never anyone or anything we were after. What we were after was
Kylr and Jessica,
Kylr
finding them
and,
bringing them home.
you know, we won. We got them back. You know, there were obstacles we were faced from being told we wouldn't ever find them or ever have them. And it was just such a joy when that call came, when the mushroom hunter had stumbled across their remains, and, you know, we won. They won. Kylr and Jessica won. They're with us now. And, you know, one thing I wanted to do was just, we won. They won.
Look at our girls back. We got them back. Thank you for all the support and all the stories that you guys did, and telling our girls' stories, and made sure that people didn't forget about them.
We couldn't have done it without you guys in the community. That they've shown so much love, respect. They've prayed with us. They've done amazing things in this community, and we just appreciate everybody. And thank you for everything you guys have done too. You guys have done wonderful in telling their stories.
Thanks a lot, guys.
We love you.
This case is just so sad, and I can't help but think that if police would have taken his confessions more seriously, then Jessica's murder could have been avoided. I'm interested to hear what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think Kylr really did this? Do you think it was all his stepbrother Jessup like he's blaming? And do you think that Jessica's murder could have been avoided had they taken things a little bit more seriously when they were getting the confessions and the, you know, testimony of all of the ex-girlfriend, the friends, and things of that nature? It feels like potentially another life could have been saved, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. And what do you make of his sentence and the verdict? I just feel like it's way too lax for someone who is clearly a serial predator. And there is no doubt in my mind that he would kill again, not only because he has killed 2 people, but also because there was that one girlfriend who said he was killing kittens in front of her. We all know that a psychopath usually starts and is in the makings when they start killing animals. So there's no doubt in my mind that if he gets out after 85% of his sentence is served, he will most certainly kill again. What do you think? Do you think there is possibility of reform, or is he born bad and will always be bad? All right, guys, thanks again for tuning into today's case with me. Please don't forget, take a quick second, hit the subscribe button. It's totally free, but that way you will be notified on your YouTube home screen, whether you're on your computer or your phone or your TV. If I post a new case video, you'll see it pop up on the feed. So make sure you hit subscribe. And as always, for real-time case updates and more of a behind-the-scenes look at things, head over to Instagram and follow me there. It's @_Annie Elise. Also, a last little piece of information, I have recently updated Patreon, so there are exclusive bonus episodes there that will not be on 10 to Life or on the podcast. There's more behind the scenes footage, there's access to our private group chat, a bunch of things over there, so I will link that in the description if you are interested to pop over there. Also, early access to a lot of the videos. All right, guys, thanks again, and until the next case, stay safe. Bye.